What's going on, everyone? So, I really hope that we get further exploration of what Martin is, who Martin is, right? Like, is he just a mirage, right? I don't think that that's that crazy. I don't think it's that far-fetched. We see it all over FROMVILLE, right? From Jade and the people he's talked to, like Tom, stuff like that, right? Like, Boyd constantly talking to Father Cautry, and, he's talked to his wife, Abby, right? We've seen whatever it is, a spirit or this place, be able to communicate and take on forms. I mean, even when he was in the dungeon, right? He saw Abby. And we saw Martin kind of play dumb a little bit, but then all of a sudden he knew who Abby was and all that stuff, right? Like, I've seen people be like, well, he asked who's there and he said who he was before. Yeah, but as soon as it's like when somebody's at the door and it's like, knock, knock. Okay, well, who's there? Oh, hey, it's Fate. Right? Like, oh, hey, Fate. Like, and right? That doesn't mean he didn't know who Boyd was. He couldn't see Boyd, right? But also he knew who Julie was, which means he's ran into Julie, which means he knew Julie. And the first time he met Julie was at that encounter, was at that moment, right? When Boyd came. And then we discovered that Julie is the one that dropped the rope. So he had to have known who Boyd was because he knew who Julie was. And the Boyd instance happened at the same time. So if he didn't have memory of Julie, if he was like, who are you? Right? And he had no idea who Julie was, then it would make sense that, okay, he doesn't know who Boyd is. But he knew who all these people, he knew who Julie was. He had to have known who Boyd was. And like I said, he told Boyd about his wife. And it's what threw Boyd off. And then he, gave Boyd the worms. Okay, well, if Martin was a mirage,
Martin was this, was not real, or was this entity or whatever, well, then how did Martin interact? How was Martin able to, give Boyd the worms? I mean, well, there's several ways we got. Like, the kimono lady was able to physically touch and interact and, basically hold down Fatima and stuff. So there's that. Also, I mean, even sticking with Fatima, how did Fatima get the baby? Right? Like, where did the baby come from? How did she get pregnant? Was she, knocking back some ghosts before and just didn't tell Ellis? Like, did the Martin of Christmas past show up and plant the seed? Like, how did she get pregnant? Like, what was the deal here? Right? Like, how did that go down? Was it immaculate conception? Right? Did she just magically, because remember, she said it was impossible for her to get pregnant, that she couldn't get pregnant. It was impossible. Well, clearly it wasn't, because she just got pregnant, right? Now she gave pregnant to a monster. Well, what did Boyd get? Got worms from a monster. And it all kind of ties together, too. I mean, Martin gave Boyd the worms. Boyd ends up taking out Smiley. Fatima becomes pregnant with Smiley, right? It's all connected. It's all a plot. I feel like, that Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, right? But no, I mean, look, there's a million ways that Boyd could have gotten those worms inside him. And, like I said, maybe Martin, just because it's a mirage or a spirit or whatever, could have touched. I have a concern that they're just going to kind of like brush over Martin and like not really explain who he is, what he is, just kind of be this mystery in the dungeon. Right? Because you got to imagine Julie's going to keep going there, right? You saw a completely different looking Julie that she clearly was not the same Julie, right? So there were some clear differences there in Julie. So you got to imagine that we're going to kind of follow that timeline and that trajectory, which means you have to run into Martin more, I would imagine, right? Maybe not. I mean, we saw Martin essentially just like dissipate after the worms with Boyd and stuff. But it's just like Martin. Look, I've even talked about the potential, like, what if Martin is, kind of like what if he's like the mastermind, right? Like I talked about in Saw, where John Kramer was laying on the floor the entire time, right? Pretending, playing dead, right? Very possible that Martin is kind of doing the same thing. Being he's the entity of this place that can take on many forms. Maybe he's even the man in white. Right? He kept talking about how you got to go. It's not safe. He's going to come back, right? He's coming, right? And no one ever came. Like, it's like, Boyd's just like hanging out there, living his best life. Martin keeps talking about like, oh, this thing's coming, this big bad's coming, and no one ever came, right? Like, where was it? What was the man in yellow doing? He just had better things to do? What was he doing? He was gathering food, something? He was hanging out in a different timeline? Like, where was the man in yellow? Right? Assuming that that's even who he was talking about. Could have been somebody else. Or what if it was Martin? What if Martin was that evil? What if Martin was that bad? Because as soon as he said that, he completely flipped and switched and turned on Boyd, right? And gave Boyd the worms. How would he know who Boyd is? How would he know who Julie is? Right? Like, well, if he's overseeing this place, or he's the big bad, or he's the entity or whatever, right? Well, he would know who everybody is. It's a little, you don't think it's a little odd that he didn't have like the tattoo? He just had everything needed to kind of get Boyd's attention and get an entry point to Boyd. Oh, you're Semper Fi, right? Like, no, I'm gonna get you out of here. We leave no man behind, right? Like, that's just a little odd. That just like, it just happened to be perfect to kind of wield Boyd's trust, but he had no idea like the gun Boyd had or anything like that, right? Like, it's just so clear. So is he from the past? Is a tattoo, right? Like, so okay, so how far from the past? Because he had the Semper Fi tattoo. He had the Marine tattoo and all. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just a little all too convenient. Right? And he knew Julie was there, and he knew what Julie was wanting to do. He saw all those things. And then he just like kind of again disappeared again. And that was the thing. Julie was in that story, right? She was able to interact in that story. Well, how did he know who Julie was interacting in that story? Right? Like, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense unless he knew. He's the big bad. Or has some kind of knowledge, right? Maybe he's just like the keeper of the time, right? He's like the dude from Thor, right? Like, he's the guy that like is responsible to kind of balance out. And if Julie starts getting carried away, maybe it's his job to like Julie, right? Like, take out Julie. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of play this out, play it up, but there's got to be more to Mark. Right? He knows all these people somehow, some way, unless he's like, destined to forever kind of live in this like cycle. Maybe he's kind of in this like little pocket dimension. That's kind of what it feels like the dungeon is, period. This kind of like pocket dimension. So maybe it's this pocket dimension. He's just forever destined to repeat over and over and over and over and over in that cycle. But no, he had knowledge and information, right? He said, that the monsters are only the tip of the spear, right? There are so many more things out there. Like, how does he know all that stuff? Did he explore? Did he get out there? Right? Like, he seemed to have a ton of knowledge about stuff and about this place, but supposedly he's been chained up and tied up for whoever knows how long. No, why is he just tied up there? Why is he just chained? Like, why isn't he dead? Right? And then you even kind of have, it's just, there's too many things that just don't add up, right? Like, did he succumb to the music box curse? But Boyd unlocked the music box curse. So how was that, right? Like, it's just, again, there's so many things that don't make sense unless Martin is evil. Like, he is this evil entity. He is this being, right? Now, you could argue he couldn't die because of the worms. He had the worms in him, and that's what was keeping him alive. But again, like, whoever tied him, why did they chain him up? Why did they give him the worms to begin with? There's just so much missing from the story that at some point you gotta explore. I just wonder. I think Martin isn't real, right? I think Martin is, again, the entity. Maybe it is the man in yellow, right? And that's just, he has these different ways to appear. I mean, the man in yellow also appeared again as an old man, right? So maybe it would appear as that. Right? Would appear as the old man, would appear as Martin, right? Like, well, why wouldn't it just appear as Martin again? Well, like, a million ways you could explain that, right? Like, Martin's chained up. Maybe that's like how he just appears as that being chained up, right? Or, maybe he just doesn't want to appear as Martin because Julie knows who Martin is, right? Julie knows who, Boyd knows who Martin is, right? Like, so you show up as a different entity, you can kind of
better surprise attack. A lot of ways you can explain it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Hey, Phil, what are your thoughts? I agree, disagree, kind of mixed in the middle. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. I love to hear. What are your ideas, thoughts, theories on Martin? Because we got to get more information. We got to get more detail. Like, this can't be the gist, the end of Martin. There's got to be something more to dive into here, and I hope that we explore. I really hope that they don't just kind of like gloss over it, like that's that. Like we never get the explanation. I really hope that they kind of fill us in on who Martin is and what Martin is and all that. Whether he's just a mirage or an illusion or an actual being or a monster or some mixture of the group, whatever. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it either way. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.